Okay.
Shabbat Shalom. This week we read the Torah portion of Tolda, and we do so just a few short days before celebrating the holiday of Thanksgiving. I wonder what Thanksgiving means to each of you. I would imagine that for many of us, there is an element of the Thanksgiving holiday which, at least in part, involves the gathering of family. In the Gruenberg household, there is one word in which it would be appropriate to describe Thanksgiving: loud. This year, the entire Gruenberg extended family will be descending upon Yardley for Thanksgiving. I would imagine that many of you who will be in Yardley for Thanksgiving could probably hear us over at 292 Cinnabar Lane, making all the noise in the world. There will be fights, inevitably, because when we're all together, there are always fights. And yet in our Gruenberg family style, even when there are fights, we make up somewhat quickly, because our mother is always telling us in the background, if you can't count on family, who can you count on? In this week's Torah portion, we see the beginning of Jacob and Esau. And they start out literally from the get-go as adversaries. The text tells us that as Esau is being born, Jacob is holding on to his ankle, almost as though Jacob wanted to get out first. Later we read that Jacob tricks Esau out of the birthright, and that ultimately tricks his father into giving him the birthright, including his mother's help in that process. There was no birthright in the Gruenberg family, but there was certainly plenty of fighting. But I think the lesson that we take from the Jacob and Esau story, and ultimately in a few weeks their great reconciliation, is the same lesson that my mother has been trying to teach her 4 children through all these years. Ultimately, it is family that we can count on in the most important times in our lives. And if we allow the stress and the fighting that inevitably happens on Thanksgiving or any day when family gets together to become paramount, to become the main focus of our relationships, then we will lose that support. I hope and pray that everybody has a Shabbat Shalom and a wonderful Thanksgiving, and that this Thanksgiving is a time of family being together, reconciling, and not the opposite. Shabbat Shalom.